Welcome to the Red Story. Please subscribe and like it because it's not difficult for you. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we have a story of a man whose wife cheated on him when he was out of town. I asked her, when you say you slept together, do you mean you used him just to get yourself off? Or do you mean you did all the positions, foreplay, kinky things and such that we do? She got really quiet. I calmly said, you need to answer my questions. I need to know, and I'm going to find out, whether it's from you or one of them. And with that, I pointed in the direction of the door that led to the others' rooms. She very quietly said, all, even more than with you. The room was spinning at this point, but yet I still asked the worst question, when? When was the last time? She replied, the night before our first time. I'd never wanted to get away from someone more in that moment, but I just sat there and sulked. She tried to comfort me, and I told her to get away. I needed time. I had nowhere to go, so I just pulled a few blankets and pillows onto the floor at the foot of the bed. I passed out for a few hours, but I'm up now, posting this update. I want to just march right out of here, but at the end of this trail is a 12-passenger van. I don't have the keys for it. I'll have to stay with these people for 2.5 more days and another half-day drive back. I don't know what to do. Part of me can kind of see the logic, but mostly I'm just hurt and feel like our whole relationship was just a long con on me. I feel like I was settled for a silver medal. I also have an overwhelming urge to bring this to light in front of everyone. All of these other guys, it was the same thing. We're all just here under false pretenses. I don't know what to do. I've got about an hour before everyone's up, and then I'll have to face Ian and my wife. Am I overreacting? Is this marriage worth saving? I don't see how we can go back. Update. I am back in the comfort of my own home. Unfortunately, I and several others may be staring down the barrel of divorce. I was able to keep it together for the most part on day 6, although I'm sure everyone knew something was wrong with me. I was very quiet and kept trying to push the pace to get back to the van. I assume at lunchtime was when Liv pulled Ian aside and filled him in on what I knew. At that point, Ian started trying to buddy up to me and talk, even though I told him to leave me be. He persisted a few more times until I finally snapped and told him to drop it in a very assertive way. Liv then intervened, and they both got the hint I needed more time to process. The next 24 hours went smoothly enough. Everyone just kind of left me alone. However, after snapping at him, Ian had a total demeanor change. He went from his usual laid-back self to somewhat standoffish with everyone. Occasionally, he would make little passive-aggressive comments, nothing too obvious, but definitely directed at me. We'd hit the night of the 7th day and set up camp. I had relaxed a little and was being a bit more social with everyone. We were sitting around the campfire and cooking up the last of our food. People were just talking, joking, telling stories. Billy told everyone a long, embarrassing story about himself from high school. It's a pretty funny story about him and his first girlfriend, and in it he acts like a pretty big idiot. When he was done, he made some comment like, I still can't believe I was ever that dumb. I still cringe thinking about it. After he said that, Ian popped off. Well, at least you grew. Some people never man up and get over the past. He then looked right at me with the most condescending look. In that moment, I had an out-of-body experience. I saw only red. The filter was gone. Reason was gone. It was on. You know, Ian, you're right. Sometimes we just gotta man up and face the past head-on. At this point, Liv tried interrupting, but I completely ignored her. How about we address the fact that you used to F all our wives while we were dating? Even the insects got quiet when I said that. Oh fellas, did you not know either? Yeah, while they were holding out on us to build a connection, I totally air-quoted, our future wives were using Ian here as their human dildo. Dom and Billy looked confused and angry. Sean had a look on his face like he just walked in on his grandma doing something inappropriate. Total train wreck shock. I wasn't done though. I turned to Dom. It was Kate that pioneered this amazing plan. She figured out the key to building a lasting relationship was to take things slow, get to know each other before jumping into bed. All you need is a bestie willing to blow your back out when you come home from your dates all hot and bothered. Don jumped in at this point. F you, Allie. How do you know this? Oh, I just found out 2 days ago that when I take Liv out for shots, that wasn't going to be the only thing she was swallowing that night. At this point, Liv lost it. She started screaming at me. Why are you effing doing this? You don't need. But she got cut off when Sean popped up. It's true. It's all true. Everyone got quiet and looked at him. I've known him since we were dating. I didn't find out it was everyone else too until after we were married. I'm sorry, Billy. I could have warned you. I swear, I didn't know it was you two back then. Billy had this immense look of dread on his face. Sean, we used to double date Miranda and Sarah a couple of times. We went out and then dropped them off at Ian's afterward. Does that mean they? Sean just looked at him and nodded. I immediately turned to Ian, "Two at once, you hound dog." Then I howled like a wolf, which in hindsight is really embarrassing. But at the time I thought it was hilarious. Arguments were breaking out between the couples all over. Then an audible gasp and whimper drew everyone's attention. Ovi was sitting there with heavy tears rolling down his face. He looked at Ian. Lies, more lies. It never ends. No matter what I forgive, no matter how many times I take you back, you always do this to me. He then slapped him and turned, taking off down the trail. Ian ran after him. The other three couples grumbled under their breaths at each other. Then each started off in separate directions. I stood by the fire feeling triumphant. Liv walked up to me and said, "I hope you're happy." I quickly looked her in the eye and said, "I've never been more effing happy with myself in my whole life. I'm 80/20ths for divorce right now. I recommend leaving me be until we're home, unpacked, showered and fed, because the only thing you're going to accomplish before then is getting me to turn that to 100. At that point, she turned and went into our tent. The next day was the most awkward 7 hours of my life. Between the morning pack-up, the hike to the van, loading up, and the 4.5-hour drive home, maybe 19 words were said in total. I'm sitting in my bathroom, freshly showered. I'm going to go eat some chicken nugs, drink 3 Dr. Peppers, and then talk to my wife. I don't know where we're going from here or where anyone else is going to end up, but I know it's not going to be pretty any which way. Final update. It's been 4 weeks since we got back from the trip. Everything, everywhere has seemingly imploded. Dom and Kate are getting a divorce. They've been together the longest of all of us couples and have a 10-year-old son. Dom took the revelation extremely hard. On top of them being together the longest, he had the longest courting period, at 9 months. It's been a hard pill for him to swallow because he recalls that they didn't really take the step to being intimate until he started to question whether he wanted to stay in the relationship. Now that he knows the truth, no matter what Kate tells him, he will always believe the time was so long because she didn't want to stop being with Ian. I sat down with Sean and had a few beers one night. We'd have been pretty good friends over the years, even if we only met through our wives. Sean said Sarah had been upfront with him when they started dating. She said she wanted to wait at least 3 months before having sex, but also told him she would still be meeting with her FWB. Sean really liked her but also informed her that he was only casually dating until he knew for sure. Sarah said she was fine with that as well. So like the rest of us, Sean was also getting his during this time. Granted, he was the only one of us who had the gift of transparent choice. 2 weeks before the 3-month period was up, and after a few double dates with Billy and Miranda, Sean realized he was falling for Sarah and said he wanted her exclusively. She scrapped the 3-month minimum, and they were intimate for the first time that very night and have never looked back. Both made each other completely aware of the other's exploits during that period immediately. The honesty seems to have gone a long way, as Sean told me they did have a small fight, but it was only because Sarah thought they should have excused themselves from the whole campfire fiasco instead of chiming in at all. All in all, they are doing well as a couple, thanks to their transparency and trust in one another. I also have an update on Billy and Miranda. They are in the early stages of reconciliation. Billy is obviously and justly having a difficult time. He feels that Miranda cheated and is using semantics to justify it. They dated for 6 months before going official, and they have 3 kids under the age of 7, so both feel like they have to try and make it work for the kids. Billy's biggest struggle is distinctly remembering dropping off Miranda and Sarah at Ian's on 2 separate occasions, knowing now that she went out with him while having a threesome planned. This has left him a shell of his former self. Apparently, Miranda has tried to tell him that only one of those times did they do anything, and that it wasn't really a trio but more like a reverse train. Again, semantics to justify it. Sean tells me that Miranda is telling the truth, as Sarah was the other party in this and confirmed that it wasn't a real 3-way. But honestly, does that really matter? Ian reached out to me to apologize. I told him to ** himself, and then blocked him. OG reached out as well. I guess my revelation was the last straw for their relationship. OD and I actually conversed quite a bit over the course of a week, even though we were only really friendly acquaintances before. Turns out Ian and OB have been on again, off again for 15 years. While Ian portrays this laid-back, selfless image everywhere he goes, OB knows him to be extremely self-centered and manipulative. Ian often breaks up with OB for short periods of time or says they're on a break, so he can do what he wants because he's not a cheater, only to come crawling back once he's had his fun. Thinking back, OD realizes that at least 2 of these breaks coincide with these dating setups involving the wives. However, OB feels the worst for tolerating it for so long and allowing Ian chance after chance. He says this was it. He's moving back to Santa Barbara and leaving Ian and the cold Midwest behind for good. As for me and Liv, we had the longest conversation upon returning from the hike. I told her upfront that I wasn't interested in arguing or debating or anything like that. I told her, tell me everything you want to tell me. I won't interrupt, I won't ask questions until you're done. Then I want the exact same courtesy. She agreed. It was all apologies and justifications. She would admit it was wrong to do, then give a reason why it was okay or point to a positive outcome. She did express that she was very hurt and upset with how I went off at the campsite, but did acknowledge that Ian deserved just as much blame since he wouldn't stop poking the bear. When she was done, she asked if I had any questions for her, and I said no. I then began. I told her our entire relationship is built on false pretenses. I acknowledged that the logical part of my brain can see where she was coming from and why she tried the whole FWB thing. Her 3 best friends did this and all landed great husbands before her. But on some level, all 4 of them had to know it was wrong to start a relationship like this. I told her that it was extremely hurtful to know that she was sleeping with someone else, and I believe it slowed the natural progress of our relationship. It has fundamentally changed my memories of our early life together. I asked her, do you remember about 4 or 4.5 months into our relationship, we had that amazing day? We spent the whole day together. It ended with us back on my couch. We were kissing, your shirt was off. I was rubbing you over your shorts. It was getting pretty hot, and you stopped. You apologized, said you really wanted to but just weren't quite ready, and wanted to be absolutely 100%. I said it was okay and gave you all the reassurance you needed. You looked at me lovingly, gave me a passionate kiss before you left. I continued, I can only guess you left my place and went to Ian's. Am I right? She sat there, tears rolling down her face. She just nodded. I continued, I put that energy into you. You chose not to give it back to me, but to give it to someone else. I could maybe get over this if the thing with him had ended in the 1st or 2nd month, when we were more casual. But we were spending a lot of time together after that, and you kept it up with him all the way until the day before. You liked having us both. You did whatever mental gymnastics you needed to justify it to yourself. I then told her, the worst part of it all, for me, is finding out that you were so much more adventurous and exciting with him. That's like a knife in the heart. It makes me feel like I was second best, like a retirement plan, someone you settled for because I'm just good enough. She interjected there and began telling me, no, it's not like that. I love you. It was just sex, it wasn't real. That's how it is when they don't matter. It's easier to be loose and wild then, and so on. I waited for her to finish, and then just said, remember, we agreed it was my turn to talk. Afterward, I told her, I understand that's your point of view, but that is not my point of view. As your husband, I feel like it's my duty to give you the most and the best of my energy, my emotional energy, my physical energy, my mental energy, my sexual energy, and so on. I feel like I have done that over these 8 years. I think you've given me your best in some areas, but I now know I haven't gotten your best in others. And as a man, I must admit that sexual energy is very important to me. To know that I wasn't worthy of all your sexual energy, that you didn't trust me with that, it's the deciding factor. I do not think I can come back from this and intend to file for divorce. The scene got messy from there. She began to cry heavily and begged, offering herself and pleading with me to start over. I ended up removing myself from the situation. Later, she made a point that we're just in an emotional place right now, and I need to give this some time. This did give me some pause. I agreed to her term that we give it 3 weeks. Like I said, it's been 4 now, and my feelings haven't changed. We met with a mutual divorce lawyer who will represent us both. No kids are involved, and we both want to sell a house, so it was a smooth initial meeting. She has been extremely depressed, and so have I, but this is for the best. Sometimes things just don't work out. As the weeks have passed since our initial conversation and our meeting with the divorce lawyer, the weight of the situation has only become heavier. Liv's depression is palpable, and I find myself feeling a mix of sadness, guilt, and relief. While I still care about her as a person, I can't shake the overwhelming feeling that our relationship was built on a foundation of lies. And no matter how much she tries to apologize, it doesn't erase the betrayal. At first, there were moments when I would see her crying or looking distant, and I would feel an urge to comfort her, to tell her that everything would be okay. But every time I get close to doing that, the memories come flooding back. I can't forget what she did, and I can't forgive the fact that she kept it hidden for so long. There's no going back. Dom, who was one of the first to file for divorce after the camping trip, has been reaching out to me more frequently. We shared a few beers and long conversations about how our lives were turned upside down. He's still struggling with the fact that Kate used Ian during their early courtship, and despite Kate's attempts to reassure him that her relationship with Ian didn't mean anything, Dom can't shake the feeling of betrayal. He told me that no matter what Kate says, he'll always believe she didn't stop being with Ian because she didn't want to. It's a hard pill for him to swallow, knowing that the woman he loved and trusted kept such a secret from him. Billy and Miranda are still in limbo. Billy has been seeing a therapist, trying to work through his feelings of betrayal, but the realization that Miranda had been sneaking around with Ian while they were dating is something he can't get past. Miranda has been trying her best to reassure him that it wasn't a real betrayal because they weren't officially together at the time, but Billy feels like it's just splitting hairs. They have 3 kids under 7, so they are both trying to make it work for the sake of the children. But it's clear that Billy's heart isn't in it anymore. He's a shell of the man he used to be, and watching him struggle with this has been difficult. As for Sean and Sarah, they seem to be the only ones coming out of this relatively unscathed. Their open communication and honesty from the start helped shield them from the fallout the rest of us are facing. Sean told me that while the whole situation was shocking, he never felt the same level of betrayal because Sarah had been upfront with him about her past with Ian. They still argue occasionally about how they handled the campfire confrontation, but overall, they're doing okay. I can't help but feel a twinge of jealousy, knowing that their relationship wasn't as damaged as the rest of ours. Ian, unsurprisingly, has been completely cut off from the group. No one wants anything to do with him, and he's lost all the friendships he once had. OD has officially moved back to Santa Barbara, and from what I've heard, Ian is left alone, dealing with the consequences of his actions. Part of me wonders if he even understands the full extent of the damage he's caused. I haven't spoken to him since I blocked his number, and I have no desire to ever see or hear from him again. The divorce process itself is moving along smoothly, at least legally. We're dividing up our assets, and since we don't have kids, it's a relatively clean break. But emotionally, it's anything but clean. Liv has been trying to hold on, pleading with me to reconsider, telling me that we can start fresh, that she'll do whatever it takes to make things right. But I know deep down that I can't trust her anymore. Once trust is broken, it's nearly impossible to repair, and in our case, the betrayal runs too deep. I've been thinking a lot about the future, what my life will look like once the divorce is finalized. I'll be moving out of the house and into a small apartment nearby. I don't know if I'm ready to start dating again, and honestly, the idea of trusting someone new scares the hell out of me. This whole experience has left me jaded, and I can't help but wonder if I'll ever be able to let my guard down again. In the meantime, I've been focusing on myself. I've started going to the gym more regularly, trying to clear my mind and take care of my body. I've reconnected with some old friends, people who were outside of our hiking group, and it's been a relief to talk to people who don't know about all the drama. It's been a slow process, but I'm beginning to rebuild my life, piece by piece. As much as I wish things had turned out differently, I know that leaving Liv is the right decision. I can't live in a marriage where the foundation is built on lies, where every memory is tainted by the knowledge of what was really happening behind the scenes. It's time to move on, even though the path ahead is uncertain. Sometimes I wonder if Liv truly regrets what she did, or if she just regrets getting caught. It's hard to tell. I know she's hurting now, but part of me feels like she's more upset about the consequences than the actual betrayal. Regardless, I can't let her pain pull me back into a relationship that's fundamentally broken. So for now, I'm focusing on healing. I'm taking things one day at a time, and I'm slowly starting to feel more like myself again. The road ahead is long, but I'm confident that I'm on the right path. There's no going back, and as painful as that realization is, it's also freeing. I deserve better, and I'm finally ready to find it.